Hello, my name is Sheldon McNiven, and I will be talking about how COVID affects the lower class people or people who are in poverty, as well as ethnomedicine and how that correlates with COVID. So, going along with people who are impoverished or who are in poverty, or even if people who didn't have any access to hospitals, what essentially happened to them? So, if they were in a rural area, sadly they didn't have any access to hospitals, or they couldn't even get to them, or the hospitals were full, that kind of thing. They actually had to use either herbal medicines. They either had to just quote unquote, suck it up, or just push through the pain, and hopefully their body will run its course and kick out the bad bacteria and that disease. Or sadly, the last resort that happened is their conditions just worsened. Perfect. And so these two are correlated with the behavioral adaptations. But after people started using the herbal medicines, and just either having the disease kind of take its course, what eventually happened is we had some people who were able to overcome and get better, and their health actually did improve. So we did have improved health with the herbal medicines that some of them use, and I'll be getting into that later on in the video. But some people actually did end up just having health complications. Their body was able to fight it off, if they had a good immune system. But some people did end up having to, they had trouble breathing. I personally know people who are gluten intolerant and even lactose intolerant just because of COVID. Just messed up their stomach lining. And then sadly, the worst one, where there was death. People weren't able to overcome it. They weren't able to have the professional health care that the Western world provides. Okay, I'm just going to switch gears here for a bit and explain about the medicines that a lot of people use or started using. And an article that I read in preparation for this is the U.S. didn't really take a big study or study a whole ton into the medicines and herbal medicines, but we did have the rest of the world. And I'll be talking to that later on in the video about which countries studied herbal medicines the most. But even with that being said, we still had people in the United States still use herbal medicines, obviously because of these reasons. But the article says, in the United States, for example, distribution of supply chain due to lockdown protocol, hindering corporation activities as well as increased demand, caused medicine shortages. And because of that, we had to resort more to the herbal medicines. So lack of resources for conventional modern medicines forces people to look for its alternatives. One of them is herbal medicines. Despite some preliminary study of available herbal medicine preparations and its curative effects of COVID-19, experts still feared the misguided use of such medicines could do more harm towards people than rely on unproven alternatives with questionable effectivity. So basically that's saying there were people who were using them, but they weren't considered reliable, and some of them have actually even harmed people more than doing good. But some of the herbal medicines people used, one of them was garlic, and the reason for that is because it has some antibacterial properties to it. One that was very interesting too is African wormwood, and it is also, this one's actually deemed it actually did cause, or it's possible that it did cause some COVID in people. So this one did more worse than good. And then there's turmeric. This one originated from India, and nutgrass, also from India, which is also possibly causative. The other countries that focused on, that were studying about like the herbal medicines and how they affect us, is we do have this pie chart here. So this big portion was China. So China took a big toll into studying the herbal medicines. The next one we have here is we have 33% of India who studied the herbal medicines. Then we also had Africa. And then the last one we had was Europe. And tying all of this together, we through studying herbal medicines and with COVID and how it affected everybody, there was a way to resort a different way other than going into the hospital. Was you can use like herbal medicines. However, they're not depending on the studies and which ones you use, they're going to be more beneficial or unbeneficial, more harmful and detrimental to your health. So overall, that is how ethnomedicine is related to COVID.